Good morning, twirlers! Or afternoon, or evening. This twirling craze is really international. Anyway, I was asked if I could do a twirl video showing a step-by-step, start-to-finish project on a symmetrical triptych. And I thought this was a cool project to have up my sleeve for my Photoshop classes. So, let's start a twirling. Right, I'm going to start off with this image, which is a portrait image I shot at one of my studio sessions. And I don't know how big it is. Oh, it's quite big. So what I'll do, I'll resize it first. So this action runs a lot quicker. So that's resized it down to 1000 pixels. I'll now flip it by looking at just a little bit further down. I'll flip it portrait by using the twirl setup portrait action. So we'll just flip it that way. And then I'll flip it downwards, so I'll flip it on the landscape side, so I'll flip it that way. I'll just zoom that out a little bit, and then I think I might give it another flip. Ooh, yeah, that looks pretty cool, I'll live with that. And then just so for the video, though it runs a little bit faster, I'll resize that back down to 1000 pixels again. Now you probably wouldn't do that. If you wanted eventually to print this, you would keep it high res. It would take a bit longer to run, but you get the end product. Right, let's first run a action on it. Let's try we'll try the lighten, because I've got a lot of dark in there and I'd like this to be quite effective. So we'll click on the lighten one. I'll leave it at -80 and I'll leave it at -80 again, see what it gives us. Well, that's not bad, but let's see if we can improve on that now. So if I go to my layers panel, and what I'll do is I'll put a levels adjustment on. Let's see if we can get it a bit more contrasty. So I'll just move the mid. Oh yeah, that's a little bit better. Just lighten it a little more, just to bring some of them dark tones out. Ooh, yeah, I'm quite liking that. Okay, let's see. I mean, there isn't a lot of colour in it, but let's see if we can just boost the colour a little bit. We'll try a colour balance layer. And let's try a little bit of cyan. Oh, do we want red? Oh, no, I quite like the cyan actually. And try maybe a little bit of green and maybe a little bit of yellow. Yeah, I quite like that. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten all these layers down now into one for the next stage. So I'm going to go up to the corner and click that little fly out menu, and then I'm going to select merge visible. And that flattens it all down to one layer for me now. So I'll just get rid of that so we can see. And now I'm going to go to the first stage of the triptych. So I'm going to go back to my actions, and then I'm going to just go up. I've just got the triptych on canvas one. So I'm going to click on that. And it will run and do its little thing. And give me my starting point. I'll just zoom out a little bit on that. There we go. Right, so I'm going to back to my layers panel now, and you can see that it's generated all these layers for me. Now I'd like this to be a black background instead of orange, so I'm going to go into the background layer and just click on it. And then here we've got an effect called color overlay, and that's what's causing this orange. Well, I don't want that. So I'm going to switch that off. And now I'm going to fill that background with black. So I'm going to go over to my foreground colour swatch. I'm going to click on it. And then I'm going to click right in this bottom corner to set that to black. And then click OK. And you'll see that now there's some black in there. And then there's a lovely keyboard shortcut for fill from foreground colour, which is you hold the Alt key down and you press the backspace. or the delete key on the Mac. And that fills that with black. Let's just bring that up a little bit more. And now I do like a little white border around each of the cells. So I'll start with the right hand cell, which is on this layer here called right. I'm going to click on that to make sure it's active. And then where it says stroke, there is already a black stroke round it, but because it's now on a black background, you can't see it. So I'm just going to change that to white. So I'll double click where it says stroke. That takes me to the stroke dialog. I'm going to change the colour of the stroke, then I'll change that to white, and then click OK. And I want it to be inside. Where it says position, I want it to be inside, and this makes sure that it's got some nice square corners. If you put it outside, you get rounded corners. Just have a look what that looks like. Yeah, I think that looks fine. 3 pixels. So I'll click OK. I'll then do the same with these other two. I'll just double click, leave it that at 3 pixels, change the foreground colour to white, click OK. Same on this one, change the foreground colour to white, and make sure it's inside. So now I've got some nice white little borders, really picking this out from that black background, which I really like. Now, there's been a couple that like these end panels to be a little bit smaller, and to be honest, I do as well. So how am I going to do that and get it to work? Well, first what I'm going to do is use some guides so that I know that I get them exactly the same size. Now if you look up here at the top, you've got what's called the rulers, and if that's not there, if you go to view and rulers, you'll switch it on. You see I've just switched it off, but if I now go to view and rulers, it brings the rulers back on again. Now if I put my mouse into one of the rulers and click down on the left mouse button and drag, I can drag a guide out. And if I put it somewhere, let's say there, and you get this horizontal guide. This won't print and you can remove them later. And then I'm going to click on this one and drag that one down and just eyeball it to get it about the same. So now I know where I'm going to be dragging to. Okay, so let's start with the right hand one. So I'll go and click the right hand pane to make sure that that's active, and I'm going to use transform. So I'm going to press the keyboard shortcut Control and T, and now you can see these what they call control handles come all the way around the outside. I'm going to go up and I'm going to hover over this one here, so don't drag here, go up and put your mouse right over that little square and click and drag down. And I'm going to do with the same with the bottom one, and I'm going to drag that one up. And then I'm going to double click inside to finish off the transform. And then the same with the left hand side one, click on the layer to make it active, Control and T for transform, hover over that point and drag it down, hover over the bottom and drag it up, and then double click to get rid of that. And now we don't need the guides anymore, so I'm going to go up to view and switch off extras, and that will get rid of those guides. Oh, so I think that's looking quite good. I think we'll finish it off with a title. I do like my titles, so I'm going to go over and select the T for the type tool, the horizontal type tool. I'll make sure that my colour up here in the options bar at the top, that the colour of my type is set to white, so it sees it off against that black. I'll pick a nice font. I'm not sure what that one is, but let's click and see what it's like. Oh, that looks a bit big, so I'm going to change that down to say 14 point, and I'll just type a title of say Green Day. And I do like my letters spaced out a little bit. So I'll make that a little bit bigger first though, because it's a little bit small. We'll separate up to 30. Like that. Okay. And then I'll press the enter key to accept that. But what I'd like to do is to just space these letters out a little bit. And you do that from your character palette. So up here we've got this thing called the character panel. If I click on that, it brings this panel up. And then what I'm going to do is this little thing here, the VA, that's going to space my letters out for me. And I can use my scrubby slider, which is, you can see I've got like a little pointy finger with arrows. If I click and drag, that's called a scrubby slider. Or you can type it in, or you can click this and put in whatever value you want in there. But I tend to like to eyeball it, so I'm going to use my scrubby slider and just space out those letters a little bit. That's better. Quite like that better. So I don't need that anymore now. And I'll just put that on the screen and admire the fruits of my labour. Well, there it is, how to make a 3-panel triptych with the end panels a little bit smaller. I think they look quite effective, those. I hope that was helpful. If it was, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I think there's a possibility I may be posting more videos on this because they seem to be quite popular at the moment. Have a great day twirling, and I'll catch you again on another Twirls Day. Bye for now.